We have all witnessed a scene on television where a patient's life is in danger during surgery. The doctor urgently requests a blood transfusion to save the patient's life, while the nursing staff rushes to the hospital's blood bank to find a suitable donor. The situation becomes chaotic until a family member who is willing to donate is found. It is important to note that blood transfusions must match the patient's blood type or use a compatible type. As we know, humans have varying blood types, and using an incompatible type can put the patient's life at risk. The Earth is home to a diverse range of animals, and if one of them were to suffer an injury causing significant blood loss, would it be useful to provide them with a blood transfusion? Even if we assume that it would work, do animals have different blood types like humans, and is it necessary to consider this aspect when transporting them? Is it possible to transfuse blood from a cow to a purebred dog? If yes, should the blood come from the same breed of dog? For instance, can a German Shepherd receive blood from a Golden Retriever? But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications to receive our new videos. Let's start by understanding why humans have different blood types in the first place before answering our questions. The blood of the human body is made up of 4 main components, namely plasma, platelets, white blood cells, and red blood cells. The white blood cells are responsible for producing antibodies, which play a crucial role in getting rid of foreign substances from the body. It is important to note that dogs can transmit bacteria, which can be harmful to human health. This virus is so small, it can be considered a microbe. Moreover, it deceives the body into believing that it is one of the body's cells. As a result, if it tries to infect the body again, the immune system will recognize it quicker and be ready to combat it. By the way, how does a person's blood type impact their immune system? When we observe the picture of antibodies, we can see that they are shaped like the letter Y. Each antibody is stationed in the body, whose color matches the color of the receptor in the antibody itself. This implies that the mauve-colored future is stationed in my body, and the orange receptor is also stationed in an orange body. Every antibody is responsible for hunting the foreign bodies that it is designated for. However, we do not need to worry about this, as the body locked on top of the antibody is called the antigen. Antigen can be a protein, a virus, or a microbe that can be harmful to our body. Blood types vary from person to person due to the presence of different proteins known as antigenes on the surface of the red blood cells. The 4 blood types are A, B, AB, and O. Additionally, the presence of the Rh factor determines whether a person's blood type is positive or negative. If you possess antibodies in your blood, you may not be aware of it, but your immune system will attack any foreign antigens found in your blood that are not compatible with your blood type. For instance, if your blood type is positive and you receive a transfusion from a donor with a different blood type, your body won't recognize the donor's antigens and will consider them harmful. This can lead to serious complications, and it is a complicated issue that applies to both humans and animals. It is important to note that while ABP, or antigens, are a crucial classification of red blood cells in humans, they are not present in animals. Unlike humans, animals have normal red blood, which is also considered normal. Each individual has their own unique set of antigens on their red blood cells. This is true for both humans and horses. It is important to note that having antigens on red blood cells is normal and necessary for a healthy body. They are completely different from ours, and that is why we have classified them according to the letters in front of you. If you remember, their verse is the same as ours, then the cats have A and B, and they also have A and B. However, this is just a similarity in naming, nothing more. Neither the horses nor they have the anti-genes that we have, as you have noticed. Different types of animals have varying numbers of species. For instance, sheep have 7 species, whereas goats, even though they are related to sheep, have only 5 species. Cows, on the other hand, have 9 species. Dogs, which are one of the most populous animals, have an even more complex situation. Blood types can complicate matters when it comes to dogs. Even today, the location of some types is unknown. 13 types have been discovered, but 2 types are present in around 98% of dogs worldwide. It is now known that dogs have different blood types. In the mid-17th century, Richard Lower performed the first recorded animal-to-animal blood transfusion in England. Richard made history when he performed the first ever recorded blood transfusion. The procedure involved saving a dying dog by transferring blood from a healthy one. To achieve this, Richard opened the arteries and veins in the necks of the 2 dogs and transferred blood from the healthy dog to the one that was dying. Richard was then able to save the dog. During the transfer process, the healthy dog began convulsing, fainted, and sadly died. Despite the tragic outcome, the dog intended to receive the blood and miraculously survived. This operation, performed by Richard the surgeon, was considered successful and became the first recorded successful blood transfusion operation in the history of medicine. The operation was repeated and became widely accepted. However, Richard was not initially aware that animals have different blood types, leading to some unsuccessful operations. Once the issue was discovered, the success rate decreased as people began to perform blood transfusions only between animals with compatible blood types. The researchers were interested in advancing the experiments conducted by Richard Lower and conducting human blood transfusions. However, before proceeding, the scientific community debated the decision for a year. They conducted several experiments on human-to-human blood transfusion, despite lacking knowledge about blood types in humans. Despite this, they remained determined to move forward with their research. After the blood transfusion failed, French doctor Jean-Baptiste Dinet had a wild idea. He suggested trying an animal-to-human transfusion. Since a human-to-human transfer had not worked, they decided to use a small sheep as the donor. He had a crazy idea, but knew that no one would agree to go through it with him. So, he approached a 15-year-old boy who had undergone more than 20 blood draws for treatment. The process of drawing blood was an outdated medical treatment. However, the young man lost a significant amount of blood and was in critical condition. The doctor informed him that both possibilities, of surviving or dying, were unlikely. However, the unexpected outcome was that the operation was successful, and the young man made it through. 350 milliliters of sheep's blood were transfused into the boy, and both the boy and the donor sheep survived. This experiment gained widespread attention, prompting Dr. Dinet to repeat it with the approval of the Royal Society. They searched for another willing participant and found a young man named Arthur, who suffered from a mental disorder. Convinced that sheep's blood would cure him, Arthur agreed to the transfusion. To everyone's surprise, the second experiment was also successful. Based on these results, Dr. Dinet was convinced of the efficacy of the procedure. The doctor believed that animals could be used for blood transfusions to humans after successful experiments. However, 2 patients, the third and fourth cases, died unexpectedly. The wife of the 4th patient sued the doctor, claiming that he was responsible for her husband's death. The court, however, acquitted the doctor. As a result of this unfortunate incident, blood transfusions were completely banned. Ultimately, this matter was left to chance. The situation remained unchanged until Karl Landsteiner discovered blood types, which led to more precise blood transfusions.